There is a number that should make every boardroom pause. 82% of companies are already experimenting with artificial intelligence, but 81% report no meaningful impact on their bottom line, no marginal impact, no real impact. There is not a technology problem. It's a structural failure, and it raises a fundamental legal and strategic question. Are companies truly deploying artificial intelligence, or are they exposing themselves to risk without capturing value? I'm Giulio Coraggio, a technology and data lawyer at the global law firm DLA Piper. This is the podcast Diritto al Digitale, podcast where we explore the intersection between law and innovation. And today, we are addressing a critical issue for businesses, regulators, and legal practitioners, the AI value gap. A gap between potential and reality, between investment and return, and increasingly between innovation and compliance. Let's start from a point that is often misunderstood, even at senior management level. Artificial intelligence is not just another IT solution. It's not a plug-and-play tool. It's not simply a procurement decision. From a legal perspective, this misconception is particularly dangerous because companies tend to approach artificial intelligence deployment as a technical integration, while the legal framework treats it as a risk-based system requiring classification, documentation, accountability, and continuous monitoring. Under the UAI Act, this distinction becomes critical. An AI system is not a neutral infrastructure. It's a regulated object, and the way it is designed, trained, and deployed determines the legal obligations attached to it. What we are seeing is a mismatch between technological adoption and organizational readiness. On one side, companies are introducing AI systems into their operations. On the other, they are maintaining legacy processes, governance structures, and decision-making frameworks. This creates legal friction because AI introduces automated decision-making elements, probabilistic outputs, opaque reasoning processes, and increasingly autonomous actions. From a regulatory standpoint, this translates into multiple layers of exposure. GDPR risks, particularly around transparency, lawful basis, and automated decision-making. AI Act obligations, especially for high-risk systems. Product liability implications. Contractual allocation of risk in supply chains. And yet, many organizations are deploying AI without redesigning their internal controls. They are adding complexity without reducing legal uncertainty. So, why does this value gap exist? Why do companies invest heavily in AI but fail to generate tangible returns? The answer lies in fragmentation. In many organizations, AI initiatives exist, and some of them work extremely well, but they remain isolated, uncoordinated, and legally unstructured. From a legal standpoint, this is a key issue because scaling AI is not just a technical challenge, it's a compliance challenge. If a company cannot classify its AI systems, assess their risk level, ensure data governance, implement human oversight, and document decision-making processes, then scaling becomes legally unsustainable. And as a result, initiatives remain confined to pilot projects. They never reach enterprise-wide deployment. There is another factor that is rarely discussed openly. Risk aversion, driven by legal uncertainty. Many organizations are not failing to scale AI because they lack capability. They are hesitating because they lack legal clarity. Concerns typically include liability exposure for incorrect or harmful outputs, regulatory sanctions under the GDPR or the UAI Act, reputation risks linked to bias or lack of transparency, contractual risks when relying on third-party AI providers. And this leads to a paradox. The more powerful the AI system is, the greater the hesitation to deploy it at scale becomes. Legal uncertainty becomes a barrier to innovation. This challenge becomes even more complex with the rise of AI agents. These are not traditional AI systems. They are systems capable of planning, making decisions, executing actions, interacting with external systems. From a regulatory perspective, AI agents raise critical questions. Under the EU AI Act, they qualify as AI systems, but their classification depends on how they are used. And this creates a moving target for compliance, because the same agent can be low risk in one context, high risk in another. Moreover, AI agents challenge traditional legal concepts. Who is responsible for an autonomous action taken by an AI agent? How do you ensure human oversight when decisions are dynamic and continuous? How do you document compliance when outputs are not fully predictable? These are not theoretical questions. They are emerging legal risks. Artificial intelligence is an extraordinary powerful instrument, but it is also a double-edged sword. When properly governed, it can enhance efficiency, improve decision-making, unlock new business models. When poorly managed, it can amplify errors, embed bias at scale, create systemic compliance failures, and trigger significant liability. The difference lies not in the technology, but in the governance framework. This brings us to the key point. Governance is the missing link. Without a structured AI governance model, companies cannot prioritize use cases, assess legal risks, ensure compliance, or scale successful initiatives. Effective AI governance requires clear internal policies, defined roles and responsibilities, integration between legal, compliance, and technical teams, risk classification, frameworks aligned with the EU AI Act, continuous monitoring, and audit mechanisms. In other words, governance transforms AI from experimentation into strategy. There is a common perception that regulation slows down innovation. But in the context of AI, this is only partially true. Well-designed legal frameworks, such as the AI Act, serve a different function. They provide common language for risk classification, structured compliance pathways, and a framework for building trust. For companies that adopt a proactive approach, regulation becomes a competitive advantage because it enables scalable deployment, investor confidence, and a market credibility. On the contrary, companies that ignore governance risk remaining trapped in the value gap. If there is one key takeaway from this discussion, it is this. The problem is not artificial intelligence. The problem is how organizations are integrating it. Technology is not the bottleneck. Governance is. Legal structure is. Organizational transformation is. And until these elements are addressed, the value gap will persist. So, let me leave you with a few questions. In your organization, is AI truly generating value, or is it still confined to isolated initiatives? Do you have a governance model capable of scaling AI while ensuring compliance? And most importantly, are you treating artificial intelligence as a strategic asset or as a technological experiment? If you found this episode insightful, feel free to reach out to me at giulio.coraggio@dlapiper.com for comments or suggestions. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, activate the notification bell, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you enjoyed this episode. I'm Giulio Coraggio. This is the podcast Diritto al Digitale. Arrivederci.